Hey everyone, it's Rachel from The Life Facilitator, and I am gonna do a video today talking about putting pocket pages in a memory keeping planner, and why that's a good alternative for weeks that maybe you have a lot of photos or just a lot to memory keep, and how you can actually use elements of your own. If you've been a pocket page scrapbooker in the past, how you can actually use what you already have in your memory planner. So, to start, I just wanted to give a couple examples of times I've used pocket pages in my memory planner. So, let's go to December. So here's a week in December that I used a pocket page because I had too many photos. And I also sometimes use pocket pages for things that I maybe are like slightly more personal. And if I'm sharing this page on Instagram, it might have people in it that maybe don't want to be photographed or whatnot. But so this one was just a matter of I just had too many photos. So these pocket pages are from the Happy Planner, and they are meant to fit in this big Happy Planner size. And these photo pockets are 3x4. So another tool that I use that I definitely love are these photo crops from Simple Stories. The ones I use the most are the 3x4, the 4x6, and I have the 2x2 over here somewhere. I'll grab it in a second. And these are sort of pretty typical or standard pocket page sizes. And so it's nice to have the crops because if I want to make my own card, I can just cut around and then actually move this so that it visually I can see exactly what I'm cutting out, which is really nice. So these are really helpful. So I actually used the pocket card or the crop to cut these pages, and actually these all came from the Traveler's Notebook Simple Dory. So that's a fun thing to use. If you subscribe to the Coco Daisy Traveler's Notebook Memory Keeping Kit, that kit actually works really well in the big Happy Planner because you can cut it up and use it however you want. So this is an example of a pocket page that I've used in my memory planner. And then so that's that. I also wanted to mention that you can, if you are a pocket memory keeper, and you are looking at possibly getting into this size or this format of memory keeping, you can sort of think outside the pocket when it comes to memory keeping in a Happy Planner. So what I mean by that is that in a lot of ways, this format actually mirrors a 9x12 and a 12x12 layout. So if you just sort of like imagine with me that these are 3x4 cards, and this would be a 4x6 element and then another 3x4 card. You can actually build your spread much like you would a 9x12 and a 12x12 layout. So that's what I did here. I actually didn't follow the days of the week. I did the way I formatted this is this all went together, this went together, this went together. And then on this side, these two go together, these two go together, these two, so on and so forth. So you can use this format in a very similar way as you might use a pocket page scrapbooking format. You're just and you can do it the way that I did it. Other people, will follow the columns, and that totally works too. For me, I like to see the things sort of next to each other. So I've set up my memory keeper to do that most of the time, not all the time. So as we talk about pockets today, we're going to talk about pockets that you can use, and then also thinking outside the pocket, and ways to sort of reimagine pocket scrapbooking in this format. So the other thing I want to mention is so the tools that I use, and that's the other thing, is I also use pockets for storage. So these are little 2x3 cutouts that I've made so that I can place them in my little squares. And there are two ways that I make these little rectangles. I either use my Happy Planner punch. This is the large, big Happy Planner punch, and this is the size. It's 1.89 by 2.95. That's the size. So it's roughly 2x3. But this is really great because I can, again, just use papers. Like this is one of the papers from the Pocket Kit, and I can just punch and then have the square. So as you can see, I've done that here with a couple of these, and I like to punch a bunch at the beginning of the month, so I just have them and they're ready to go. And this pocket actually lives in my 2020 planner. This is my 2019 planner, and I'm switching over to this one for 2020. And so this pocket actually acts as storage for me in my planner. And again, this is another Happy Planner 2x2 pocket holder, but I'm just using it for storage. So that's another really handy way to use pockets in your memory planner. And then, so I mentioned that you can use the Happy Planner punch. I love this punch. I think it's a great investment, and it actually works really well with most cardstock and things like that. But if you don't want to shell out money for the punch, you can just make little crops just out of either laminate or I'm sure you have packaging somewhere that is like clear packaging. You could also cut up things that anything that's like a little bit hard, you could use this. For me, I use when I make my own crops, I actually use table mats, clear table mats. So here's an example of one, and I have linked them in the past. I will link it again, but these are just honestly they're like $2 or $3. You can probably get them at the dollar store. I order mine on Amazon, and so same deal. You can just make your own little decorative boxes. And this is really handy, especially when I, after I'm done with the stickers, and I still want decorative boxes, I can make my own. So that's kind of all in, like thinking outside the pocket, but also using pockets for storage. So I store this little crop right here. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about what happens. So let's say you can't find, and these are a bunch of different pocket sizes, and here's my little 2x3s. So here's a 2x2 and another 2-inch pocket crop, and I do store these also in here. But yeah, what happens if you have you can't get access to these pocket pages, but you have pocket pages maybe from a ring bound pocket scrapbooking system, and so I wanted to talk about how you can take this pocket page. So if you can see, this is a Simple Stories ring bound pocket page, and you can either punch into this with like a super heavy duty punch like this. This is my arc punch. I love this thing. But, you know, if you don't have this and you're afraid to punch into the plastic, which can be a little hit or miss, one of the options is you can use, you might, if you're using this system, you probably have some extra disc bound paper. And what you can do is you can trim the paper and then adhere it to the front and the back, and like use the rest of the page to adhere to the front and the back of your pocket pages, and then they'll fit right in your planner as if it is already punched for the Happy Planner. This is a great option. I know I have tons of extra, hole punched versions of this. The other option too is you can washi where the holes are, and then it does make it easier to punch it if you were going to punch it. So this is just a couple ideas of things that ways you can use pockets in your memory planner. Oh, one other one I was going to mention is you can also just adhere pockets right to your pages. I don't know if I have an example of that, but I don't have an example of that. But that's another option too, is you could always, let's say you had a week where you just wanted to highlight a couple big photos. You could always just adhere this pocket onto the page as is, and then that would be your memory keeping for the week. So I hope this is helpful. If you'd like to leave a comment below, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I'm gonna actually do a memory keeping spread with I've already started here, but I'm going to finish this memory keeping spread and actually add in a couple pockets. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so before I actually get into the memory planning, I have to print photos. I don't have to, but it's a good idea to have some photos. And so I am in iPhoto right now, and I've selected several photos that I know I want to use in this week's memory plan with me. Our memory planner spread. And so I've selected the photos. I'm going to go to print, and then I have a custom print setting set up so that these photos will fit all on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and they will fit in my memory planner really well. And this is also, I use matte photo paper when I do this. So I'm going to go ahead and print this, and then we'll actually get started with my memory plan with me. All right, so I am ready to memory plan, and I have the printables, which I know I will be using, some extra papers if I want to do some punched backgrounds or to cut out some journal cards. Yes. And then I have my photos, the memory keeping stickers, and then the other stickers, rub-ons, all that kind of stuff. My pens. So let me walk through the photos that I selected. So these photos are, again, meant to fit in the boxes. This one I messed up, but I'll just trim it down. And then these are 4x6 photos that I will be putting in pocket pages. And then these are 3x4 photos that I will put in pocket pages as well. All right, so I'm gonna get started. So I actually already started putting a few things down for this week. I added a little flip, which I thought was fun. Well, partly just because I liked both, like the getting my crafty on, but I also liked the illustrations on this side, so I decided to do a flip. Use one of the printables here, and yeah, so I'm gonna get started. First thing I always do is take the pages out of the planner because it's a lot easier to work with when the pages are not in the planner. I should also mention for 2020 I am using the Teresa Collins just big happy planner. It's not a memory keeping planner, it's just a big happy planner, partly because the pages are so neutral, so I can this is pretty easy to change the lines if I wanted to, but I think the peachy and the black go with pretty much everything, so that's why I chose this planner for 2020 for memory keeping. So now that my photos are printed, I'm going to go ahead and trim out the photos. There is not really a rhyme or reason of how I do this. I usually trim off the like the border first and then trim them out. I am not, you'll see in the video later that I don't necessarily put the photos on the day that they are taken, and so I'm not really caring about that when I cut them out. Now, if you did care and wanted to make sure that the photos were on the day that they were taken, you could actually, before you cut them out, you could write under the photo the day that it was taken. But for me, that's not important because I typically will put the photos where I think they look the best. And yeah, so there's that. Have my photos. I'll cut the rest of the photos later. But the key is to get this part, the first part done, and then the pocket page later. And so I will spend, a fair bit of time moving the photos around. This is probably the part that takes the longest, is just deciding where the photos go. And I typically, or I've gotten into the groove with the photos to do basically like every other box a photo for the most part. And I use the box next to the photo for its either journaling or embellishment. And that just works for me. Some people like to use the columns for the, decorating and think vertically. But for this, I tend to think whatever the photo is next to, that's where the journaling will go, is next to the photo. That just makes sense for me. But you don't have to do it that way. You can do whatever you want. Memory planning is so fun because you can literally do it however you like. So yeah. Just getting my photos down now that I've committed. So once I commit, I get those photos down because I don't want to second guess myself and then spend another 5 minutes, re-second guessing myself. So those photos get put down. And in fact, I will actually later pull up a photo and use it somewhere else, but that's okay. I feel like that's what happens when I'm paper crafting. Things will often get pulled up. And yeah, so I'm using the stickers from the memory keeping sticker kit. These stickers are 100% the reason why I am back in a big happy planner. I am so excited that every month I have stickers and embellishments and things that specifically go with the memory planner and the big happy planner. So that's been really fun. Here I'm pulling out one of the punched papers, and I don't end up using it. Instead I go for the sticker, which I put next to one of my favorite snacks, which is pita chips and hummus. I'm building a sort of journaling card with that tag on the bottom, and then just some lines that I cut most likely from a piece of lined happy planner paper. Um, and going through the word elements. When I organize my supplies, I typically put the word elements all together, and then like the icons or things that are sort of more decorative all together. And so when I'm looking for something, I'm typically looking for a type of decoration. And so if I'm looking for words, I can then pull all the words at once rather than digging through, you know, yeah, it works. It works for me. I'm going to add one of my punched punched papers from my little punched paper pocket stash on this day, partly so that those two boxes look like they sort of are together, and then with the little flip, it gives an extra dimension or an extra interactive part. I punched some of the note paper from the planner kit and added that to the top section. And I thought I would do some journaling up there, but I ended up just sort of leaving it pretty plain. And that I have plenty of journaling elsewhere, so it just made more sense to leave it kind of as is. Again, I'm sifting through the word elements to figure out which ones I'd like to use. I'm trying to use some of the like New Year, January, the sort of really specific to like kind of the first week of January word elements in this layout because it makes sense for the first week of January. Still sifting. There you go. I finally find one. I think it says like new begin here or something. I will eventually put it somewhere. There it is. So I'm curious, for those of you who are watching this video, and I'd love for your comments below, are you memory planning for 2020? And if so, what are you using? Yeah, just kind of what's your process? Do you plan once a week? Do memory plan once a week? Do you batch it and do it all, throughout, one time a month? My goal for 2020 is to really try to actually memory plan the week after the week that I'm memory planning. Wow, that didn't make any sense, but I think you know what I mean. But actually to keep up with it rather than to try to do like batch memory planning. And really the hardest thing for me, or the biggest roadblock for memory planning, is always printing the photos. But I have such a good system now that I should just, it should be so much easier. And so that's my goal for 2020, to really keep up with memory planning, and also to have a system for the photos that don't get used in my memory planners, what I call my misfit photos. So I'm coming up with a couple ideas of what to do with misfit photos because I don't want to throw them away, and I printed them for a reason, but sometimes photos just don't fit in a spread. And so, yeah, comment below if you have ideas for misfit photos, or if you just kind of put them all in and see how it goes. I'm adding a couple stickers from the Classic Sticker Kit, Planner Kit. Oh, sorry, Classic Planner Sticker Kit. I think that's right. And it fit really nicely in that lower box. And I love that. Oh my gosh, I love those glasses. I was talking with another Cocoa Daisy lover, and we were talking about those glasses die cut, and how it was so hard to use it because we only got a couple. So I have to, but you know what? You just got to use the stuff you love, because otherwise you end up not using it, and then it ends up in like, a box somewhere, and then, what good is that? So use those elements that you really like, because there's no reason to hoard it. And I say that, and I do it all the time, but more this is like pep talk for myself as well. So here I'm wrapping up this spread, and I'll be back on to go through what I put together. Okay, so here is the before the pen look at this spread. I used stickers from the memory keeping, and then I also used stickers from the classic sticker planner sticker kit. I used some of the die cuts, and yeah, I did trim. I have a bunch of scraps from the paper, and so I did do some trimming of the paper to add some color to some of the planer boxes. But this is generally like close to done other than the journaling. I did add a little flip here, and I did cover up the first 2 days of the week because I did really want to focus this whole week on the fact that it's January, it's 2020, and sort of like having the theme of the week being like getting my life together. Yeah, so I will put this aside, and I'm going to now work on the pocket pages that are going to go with this week. So there won't be much of this process, partly because my camera ran out of memory, but I will walk through it in detail at the end of the video. So really this process is a matter of just putting things in pockets and making decisions on what I think looks the best. So the front of the pocket will be home, and the back of the pocket will be like things I love about home. And I'll tell you about that now. So here's the final result, and I sincerely apologize that my process got cut off. My phone ran out of memory, and anyways, I have to get that figured out. But here's my final spread, and then here's the pocket page that I have added. And the idea for this pocket page was that it was more focusing on sort of an idea rather than like something that happened during the week. So this side's focusing on home and why I love home, and then some sort of like little bits of home that make me happy. So that's what I'm using this pocket page for. And this is my final spread for the first week of January. So thanks for following along with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have comments below or questions, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, bye!